we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado. This is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
Discussion Combustion, episode 199. You know that we're back at you, and we're so excited. And we are brought to you by Loco Plus.
That's right, guys. Loco Plus, your local content creator. We are doing our showcase event. We've been talking about it for weeks. Here it is. If you haven't got your tickets yet, I don't want to say your SOL, but check it out. We have a great showcase lined up this Saturday, downtown Denver at X Denver. That's going to be 3:30 p.m. when the doors open. It's going to be a lot of fun, Art. We got some good things coming.
It's going to be an amazing event. So many awesome creators. We will be doing a live podcast in front of an audience and then also emceeing and introducing everybody else. Definitely come check it out. And if you don't know where those links are at, then you're behind the ball. But it's so good to be in here. So good to be in here right now.
Oh, absolutely. This is episode 199. I'm going to tell you this. This is going to be the last time you see a Discussion Combustion in this studio. And what better way to close it out with the man, Josh Ritzer, joining us now out of Boulder. What's going on, man? Thanks for coming down.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be fun, man, to dive into what you do. And I know we were talking a little bit off mic, and we got a lot to unpack here. But I just want to say thanks for bringing us some cold beverages that we're going to get into. And, yeah, this is going to be a banger.
Yeah, I mean, you are an entrepreneur and also really focused on the Denver area, but more specifically the Boulder area. And the time is nigh to get involved with local business, right?
Absolutely.
And so tell us a little bit about what you do, about the app. And we know a little bit about this, but it's always good to hear it from you, the creator.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to start with the mission, because I think that's where we start any change in society, is with why are we doing this? We're all about helping local businesses. I came up with this many years ago is what we're seeing and coming out of Silicon Valley is we build a lot of great technology and a lot of innovation, but we're also leaving a lot of people behind in society. And most of those people are tied to high-touch service jobs in local wages. And so I came from a small business family, and I've always wanted to figure out how to solve local in a way that pushes more economic value down to the local level and make our local communities stronger. And so really that's what Nigh's mission is to really innovate and transform local and be the first technology that actually pushes more economic value down to lift more people up with technology and not just be a 1%er technology like most of our technologies are.
Yeah. So one of the coolest things that I learned when we were doing our research is it's designed for local businesses, like you just explained, but it is also like, look, something's happening right now. Yeah. The time is nigh. Yeah. It's happening right now. Yeah. But then a part of the application is there's actually a radius that goes into it. So based upon the event time, it will only broadcast to people that are within driving range to be able to make that event on time.
Yeah.
I mean, who came up with that little, that little piece seems like such a crucial component, right?
It's a big component to solving local, though, right?
Yeah.
Because and we call it the Nigh zone, and we're patent pending on that. And essentially that's the key to solving local is if you're a massage therapist and you have a 2:00 appointment available, you don't want somebody to take that appointment out of the market that can't make it there on time. So we only show things to people based on time and distance and being able to arrive at the local business when they want more customers soon.
Now, how does the algorithms work with that? Like in some of the development that went into figuring out what the radius looks like, how to get it in front of people, and just how all the moving parts work.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to lie. We're pretty early. Our algorithm isn't as smart as a lot of the global algorithms. But when we get to where we're going, it's all about time, distance. It will take in traffic. It will take in where you're at and what is the start time. So if there's a yoga class that starts at 4:00, we only show it to people who can get there at 4:00. So if it's here in Denver, somebody in Boulder can get to that class if it's a few hours from now. But as the time gets closer to the start time, we shrink the radius so only people who can get there on time can actually get a ticket.
Wow. That's taking it next level, I feel like. I could see this thing really starting to pan out because it's like, hey, there's something cool going on. I can make it there on time. Here's what's going on. Here's how to get there. Yeah. And now how does it get into the user, viewers' hands, what have you, on the cellular device or wherever that app translates to.
Yeah, so the Nigh app looks a lot like TikTok for local, where it's a video marketing platform for local businesses, and where you're flipping through and you're seeing in every video you see is a local business that's near you that wants more customers soon. And you only see things you can get to on time. So if it's a restaurant and they might be busy at lunch, busy at dinner, but they're slow in between, they can do a drop. We call them local drops, and it's for a time at say 3 to 4. Well, at noon, somebody an hour away can get there on time. But as the time gets closer to the start time, the radius will shrink, and so only people who can get to that 3 o'clock restaurant on time will see that and be able to get tickets for it.
Wow. Now, do they receive a notification, or is it kind of like the TikTok? When you're scrolling through, you can just see, oh, this is going on, that's going on.
Yeah.
I can choose what I want to see.
It's both. So you can actually follow businesses on our app, and then when they do drops, you get notified.
Brilliant.
But you can open the app anytime and actually scroll and see everything that's live and all the businesses that are doing drops around you.
Wow, that's terrific.
That is super cool. So what happened in the past? Like what was it, man? Like you were sitting there one day and you were like, if I could just have an app that showed me something cool that's happening around me that I can make on time. Like,
I'll give you the longer story.
Okay.
I grew up small town Minnesota, and my whole family was blue collar entrepreneurs, small businesses. And I worked for my best friend's family store on Main Street in our town, and it was like an REI, but a one family store, outdoor. It was called Outfitters. And then when I went to college, I studied computer science, and I got an internship. I had done a startup in college, and then I also got an internship at Accenture, the top tech consulting firm in the world. And the project they put me on was called Retech, and it was basically Accenture invested in this company that was building world-class retail software. So Retech was in Best Buy, Target, all the big brands used Retech software. So I got to learn a lot about the difference between mom and pop shops and how they operate with technology, which is, that was 25 years ago, that really wasn't existent. Yeah. And then all the big stores and how they were doing leveraging technology. And so when I graduated college, I had done a startup, and I had worked for Accenture for two summer interns. So coming out in the late 90s during the .com, I had very good programming skills, and I was very marketable. So I had a lot of offers, and I actually went back to Accenture even though it was the lowest paying offer. And the reason was simple: is I actually said this. They said I could go anywhere in the world, and so that was a kind of having never traveled, growing up in Minnesota.
Okay, wait, just quick bullet point there. What were some of the places in the world that were like destination stations that you were like, oh, that's really tempting? Like, I just got to know.
Yeah, I mean, because I had interned and it was at the top of the market, they basically are like, we want you to come back and pick an office. And they have offices in most big country, most first world countries. It came down to Minneapolis, Phoenix, or San Francisco. And believe it or not, I chose Phoenix for a very strategic reason. Because Phoenix office for Accenture it was a 90+% chance that I wasn't going to work in Phoenix. I was going to be flying every week to clients, mostly in Silicon Valley, and I spent 4 years up in Seattle at Microsoft. And so I was always going to be traveling. I wanted to travel. So if I would have gone to San Francisco, I would have had to drive down to Silicon Valley and had a 2+ hour commute. Mm-hmm. So I actually chose the office where I knew I was going to have to travel every week on an airplane. Okay. So that was, but there was like London and other places, but I never considered that because given that I had never really traveled, I wasn't really, my first step wasn't going to be going out of the country. Did you have
a passport at the time? Like, were you even prepared?
No.
Okay.
No. The first passport I got was when Accenture sent me to Europe and Asia and stuff. But yeah, that happened a few years later.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it came down to like going back to the startup I was working at in Minnesota or going to Accenture. And I took Accenture even though it was actually the lowest paying of like 16 offers I had. And the reason was, I actually said this in '98 when I graduated, my dream job is to be a small business consultant. I see all these small businesses like my dad, my grandpa, my best friends, parents, getting left behind with technology. And I want to be a person that can help them bridge that. I know how hard technology is. And So that was really something that was just in my heart from when I graduated college. But then I went to Silicon Valley and spent my career there, and it went really well. And I got a chance to be part of some really cool teams building world-class software and got to travel the world.
Okay.
And so time just kind of went by. And then what happened, I left Accenture to be an entrepreneur. And I think it was 2013, my back went out. And I'd never had a chiropractor. I never had any issues like that. And
what did you do? What led up?
I think I took a hard foul and pick up basketball, the night before, and it just hit me in the middle of the night. It turned out to be a herniated disc, but I didn't know that at the time. So I didn't know what to do. I was in this extreme pain. I couldn't walk. My wife takes the kids to school, and I crawl over to my computer and I type in chiropractors near me. And I just go down the list, and I called 8 chiropractors at like 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, and none of them answered. And I left voicemails for the first 2, but after 2 voicemails, I was like,
this is discouraging.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave any more voicemails. I'm like,
so you're in pain leaving these voicemails.
Yeah. Okay. And so I go back to my heating pad,
and
I was like, gosh, this sucks. Nobody can solve this problem. Just tell me what chiropractor has an opening within like 10 miles today. And that was the seed for what became Near Now and has evolved into Nigh. And so it really was all about last minute discovery and solving a problem. What's available around me soon?
Yeah.
And so from a customer perspective, it was all about here's what's available around you. So as good as Google, Alexa, and Siri are, they actually can't tell you anything like that today. If you ask them anything about what's available or what's going on around you, they don't have that data today, right? And so that was the seed. So in 2014, I built a prototype, and then I actually took it with my partner back to Minnesota, and we just did an off-brand pilot because I was living in Palo Alto in Silicon Valley. And we just did a test. And it was in a 50,000-person town in Mankato where I went to school, and it went really well. It was 10 weeks, but I was running it from Palo Alto. I had 4 little kids. My wife was in a big role at her company, and I felt like it wasn't the right time. I learned a lot from that pilot, and we were doing QR codes, and nobody was doing QR codes in 2015. We were doing a lot of things, and it was just, I knew at the time it was too early, and it wasn't the right time for me and my family as well. And so then shortly after that, my wife took a job transfer to Boulder, and I continued to work on some other projects, and I knew as good as the first pilot went, I knew it hadn't been solved yet. And it's kind of funny, I'll back up a little bit. There was this lady that I met because our kids went to preschool. And she's actually a very well-known person in Silicon Valley. Her name's Claire Hughes Johnson. So she was a Google executive, and then she went and became the COO of Stripe, the payment company. And then she took that from nothing to like $100 billion, and then I think she's now retired. So this is before...
Like Missy Elliott would say, she's flipping and reversing.
Yeah. So Claire had recently shut Google Offers down, which was like a Groupon competitor. And so I went and talked to her, and I was looking for some advice when I was just playing around with this idea. And I'll never forget what she said to me. She said, Josh, local commerce is the holy grail that nobody in Silicon Valley has figured out how to solve. And then she looks at me, she goes, good luck. And that was like in 2014. And I took that to heart. I was like, yeah, this is, even though I'm a CRM expert, a customer relationship management and e-commerce expert at Accenture and, Microsoft and Cisco, it's like, this is hard. This is, and so I played it a little slower, and I worked on it in the lab and didn't build a team until after COVID. So when COVID hit, my heart broke. It's like every time I see a small local business close, just like what I saw in my town 25 years ago, it just breaks my heart. And I just knew I had to do this. And so it was just the start. And so I started working on it right after COVID in 2020 by myself. And then about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I started building the team. And we've been working at it since. So it really has evolved a lot. When I did the first pilot in 2015, it felt a little more like Groupon with a time element. And now it's evolved. In fact, about a year and a half ago, before we went live, I wasn't planning to do video. And my young team members in Boulder, most of them are CU Boulder grads, they actually convinced me to do video. And they're like, no, we really think we should do video and make this more a better connection. Well, I always knew video would be great, but as an engineer, video is really hard to build and scale. And, and so I was a little apprehensive. So what we did is we went around to all these businesses and we filmed them in these videos. And then we had a user group full of college kids come into our office. And it was amazing. The interaction and the engagement, the college kids loved it. And the number one video that they voted on was actually the Point Cafe, which is a little coffee shop up on the hill by CU.
Okay.
I think I've heard of that, yeah.
And the reason they voted it the number one video is because it's owned by a church. And it was the pastor of the church talking about how all of the proceeds from that cafe go to their mission work. And we had a reaction from all these college kids of, wow, I walk by that coffee shop all the time, and now I'm going to go in there because I want to support them. And that was the moment where like, whoa, this is the story and the engagement and the authenticity of that connection of wanting to support somebody and a group of people doing something good. And so we went to video. And so it set us back a little bit because we had to rebuild the platform. Mm-hmm. Our first tech stack wasn't set for video. Mm-hmm. And then so we rebuilt it, we retooled it. And then we started last summer, we started with 1 drop per week. We were in an alpha. We weren't even in the App Store yet. And we were just testing it out, testing the concept. It was brand new. And then it just slowly grew. And it was like, and it's really like kind of amazing to see it grow. We started with just a few businesses saying, hey, can we help you get last minute customers? You pick the time. Whenever you want more customers, we just want to help you. And that was really the thesis. And so we started doing that, and it's grown. And now we've done over 200 drops at over 85 businesses in Boulder.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, the business model almost sells itself, because if I'm a business owner and I go, I can get this out in front of people, it makes sense because now we can correlate time slots, whether it's a chiropractor like you mentioned, whether it's a restaurant special. And, we had a guest on a couple weeks ago, Katie Martineau, and she had mentioned a comment that kind of just I remembered was people like to do business with, that do video that they know, like, and trust because they've seen a little piece of what they're working with. It's not just we're not just stapling things to telephone poles anymore. Right. We're in a totally different world now with how we got to market. So I think it's terrific. It makes sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, it solves a problem for both customers and businesses, right? For customers, it's all about local discovery. Here's what's available and going on around me soon. And for businesses, it's all about trying to help them get more customers at times when they're slow or want more customers to maximize their perishable capacity or perishable time.
Sure.
And so it's all about last minute local. Our platform is a big platform. It's actually like TikTok video marketing on top of Uber on-demand technology on top of Eventbrite ticket management. Mm-hmm. So it's a big technical stack.
So you like a master coder?
I thank goodness I have an amazing co-founder. I haven't written a meaningful line of code in quite some time.
Yeah.
But we have a great team of master coders. I'm more now. My favorite part of this journey is actually meeting with the businesses. That's what I love to do, is just go out and tell them my story and how my mission, my calling in life is to build software that helps them and makes them more profitable and brings back Main Street. Yeah. And that's what I'm here for.
I mean, that is one of the funnest parts. I mean, what Kevin and I do here, there's a lot. Look, all the listeners out there, that we have a good time while we record this podcast, and it's so much fun. Guest is always having a great time. And actually, while I'm saying that, can we just do a quick cheers?
Yeah.
Because
let's do it.
It's so great to have you in here talking
cheers.
About your business. So cheers to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that is the fun part, getting to know people and talking about why we do what we do. But there's so much extra work and additional tasks that are done behind the scene. And if I didn't have my teammate Kevin here, and vice versa, or you didn't have your team, it's kind of like we're SOL, right? So everybody has to play their role, and it is so fun to get out there, but it's so crucial, all the other things that build a business, and that's what it's almost like construction. I like to do analogies. So for construction, the job's done right when you don't notice anything at all. Like you're looking at the work. You can look at the walls and you're like, oh yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
That's how you know when construction's done right. On the outside, it looks just a spick and span, but deep down, it took you had to put up the framing, you had to put up the plumbing and then put up the sheetrock and make sure everything is good, and then, you know, that you painted it right. And so there's all these details that go into building something. And it's funny because once it's rocking and rolling, people are just like, oh yeah, that thing rocks and rolls. You're like, no, if the foundation didn't exist, then the business wouldn't exist.
Yeah, they didn't see what it took to get there. And I think to piggyback off that a little bit was the mission, drive, and purpose behind why you wanted to do this, right? Because I think every great idea starts from a mission, drive, and purpose. And you're like, how can we help small businesses? You mentioned you came from a family of entrepreneurs and, you know, the chiropractor story. I think that those are the kind of stories that I like to hear, and the layers of how we got to where we are, right? And so I guess my next question is, once you decided to full send this thing in Boulder, how did you start recruiting these brilliant minds to help you build this thing?
I think, it's a great question. It's been very organic. Actually, part of the struggle I had in Silicon Valley, and when I was working on this by myself, and then I had one partner part-time in Minnesota, it's hard to get things off the ground, and it's hard to recruit world-class talent. Like, this is a big technical stack. We are building a world-class engineering team in Boulder, and what people like outside of engineering and software is there's a huge difference between Google and a lot of other companies. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, they're world-class engineering teams. And every tech company has to start with that foundation. That's your foundation. Okay. And if you don't have that, the idea can be great, but you're never going to get to where you actually, can make a major impact for the world. So it all starts with that. And I struggled with that in 2015 in terms of finding a co-founder and team. And so that's part of the journey, is just like, and you mentioned just the bumps in the road and the setbacks and stuff. And part of putting it on hold and taking a slower approach is I was struggling with that element of it. Yeah. When I came here, it just happened organically. Meeting people here in Boulder that believed in what the mission's all about, and that obviously right after COVID, everybody wanted to help our local businesses, right? So I put something out there early, and I had hundreds of people reach out. And then I had a problem of, okay, how do I screen and take the time, because it's like, for me, I used to be a decent engineer, but I'm old. It's kind of like, I think of engineering like kind of like professional sports. You do kind of age out because it's such a competitive, fast-moving environment. And I just, my co-founder, we met and we hit it off, and we got really lucky. And he's he's from New Hampshire.
Oh my gosh, not again.
Go 603, live for your die.
Every single, it's like, look, this happens like every other 2 weeks, like twice a month. Somebody's from New Hampshire.
Well, I think what the man's saying is us New Hampshire folk, you might be helpful in the team.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but
I can't deny that.
After New Hampshire, he went to Stanford.
Okay.
And
I didn't go there.
Yeah. So he's just a brilliant man, but also what he is he's somebody who has deep passion and empathy, and somebody that you need on a journey this hard with you is somebody that really can lift up the team during the tough times and stuff.
Committed.
Yeah, very committed. My whole team. I have another co-founder that went to CU Boulder, and we actually have even 4 awesome engineers in Bangalore, India, and everybody's committed. When you go to India, they need this local technology more than anybody. It's just, there's so much poverty, and if you can solve local, you lift up so many people and so many families. And so it's really cool to see how it's just over the last 2 years it's come together. But 2.5 years ago, I was sitting in a co-working office by myself, just working on it alone.
Yeah. That's a quick turnaround. We've been working on this for 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years, just putting in that grind. But I think kind of the same thing, right? Just having the team, the dream team, sticking to the commitment, consistent quality, right? Show up, give your best.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people that know what the hell they're doing, or maybe they don't know what they're doing, but they're committed to working with you.
Right.
At least they act like they know what they're doing.
Yeah. That's me.
Yeah. I think the 3 of us around the table can all concur on that one.
Yeah.
That's the #own it mentality.
Yeah.
You got to own it.
Own it, full send it, however you want to word it. But so the Boulder market, I mean, it makes sense why you launched up there. It makes sense to me. It's a pretty tech-savvy city. Yep. When do we see it come down here to Denver?
It's a great question. It's hard to say exactly, but I would say our goal is within the year.
Sure.
Yeah, it's it's because it's such a big technical stack. It's taken us a little longer to figure out some of the video scalability elements. Like what we don't want to do is scale a bad product. And, when you look at TikTok, for instance, it's amazing. That's an amazing product. You're talking high definition video and you're flipping in milliseconds and a new video is loading. I think people underestimate how hard that is from an engineering perspective. And we're doing a great job. And we not only have TikTok, but now we have Uber technology, and then we have ticket management as well. So I think it's going well. We just moved into the App Store in January, so we're thank you. And so we're less than 2 months in the App Store. And then the key to solving local is we just finished up the Pro app. And the Pro app allows local businesses to do drops on their own anytime they want. So that's the self-service tool. That's the scalable solution. My team doing drops during our alpha, that's just because we're still building out the platform. And now with the Pro app, we actually have a bunch of businesses up on the hill using the Pro app, and it's working. Good. It's like they're literally doing drops at times when they want customers, and our platform is bringing them customers.
That's great. That's great to see the results. I mean, it's yielding results quickly. So you got 85 businesses on there roughly?
Yeah.
And so now, does that work too, where they can link it to their social medias and then kind of cross-link everything?
Yep. They can share, once they have a drop live, they can share it to any Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they can share it out from there.
So if someone were to be on social and they saw that post maybe from a business that they follow, and they see the link back to Nigh, when they click on that, do they then have to download the app, or does it just take them straight in?
Yeah, so everything's through our app because it is geo-local. So you have to be able to go into the app because we have to look at your location as it relates to the business's location and stuff.
That makes sense.
That's terrific.
So if somebody were to click on a post on Instagram, it takes them to what's called a deep link. So the deep link will first look, do you already have this app? If so, it opens the app. If you don't have the app, it'll take you to the App Store to get the app.
Excellent.
I mean, look, this thing is something that would, whenever you're looking for something to do, so specific, and there's so many different small businesses out there, like even like if it's just a bar and they have like a little trivia night or something, or like there's so many different circumstances in which if the business is signed up and people are looking for it, where it could totally just bring people to where they want to be.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of it. The time is nigh, change is nigh, and if you're not willing to change with the times, and look, this might be my quote, maybe not, but if you're not willing to change with the times, then you'll be left behind because everything is always changing. And so I feel like it's really good to get on board with this, and we're going to do everything we can to promote this. What were some of the biggest failures that you had early on, right? Because the time, right now it's the present. You're seeing some success, and we love that, but I know it wasn't always like that.
Oh, yeah. Like, even outside of Nigh, just going back in time? Or
sure. I mean, your personal life, I mean, whatever it is, like, what did you have to overcome to get to this, like, place where you're, like, confidently being a spokesman of this new, huge potential?
I mean, I started, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. My parents actually had my brother, my mom dropped out of 11th grade to have my brother and then had me a couple years later. So we started out, we were pretty poor, and we were on the east side of St. Paul, which was the worst part of the Twin Cities at the time, the most dangerous. And, I remember one of my first early childhood memories is two guys breaking down our door and having our family at gunpoint.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
And I still have that visual. But what's cool about that visual, is actually it was a very heroic environment where what I remember is my mom completely de-escalated and they left and nobody got hurt.
Oh, wow.
And so that was a really cool thing because I think I was 4 years old and just remember it like it was like it's a visual in me forever.
Pretty traumatic experience.
But it wasn't, though, because
Really?
It was so heroic. Like I never processed it as trauma because I was so young and nobody got hurt.
So they came in, guns out, like, hey, all your shit is mine type of stuff. And the way that your mother handled the situation diffused it, and they left on their own accord, without taking anything, without hurting anybody.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing.
We just lived in a little like studio, and so my mom told my brother and I to go under. Like they came in, guns. My mom said, "Jason, Josh, go under the bed," and we just watched it. And they were what it was is my parents were like landlords of an apartment. And it was back in the day when everything was cash, and so they just picked up the rents, and so the people must have got tipped off that my parents had the cash from the rents, and but my mom told the people that my dad had already left with the money, but she actually stored it in the cookie jar, so so they left.
Wow.
It's interesting, but it's I think. Coming from a humble beginning, and also just coming from a small business environment where you're scrappy and you're all in it together, it really, I think, shaped me. I had to put myself through school. I worked in a factory for 4 summers to pay for my school. But then, having the opportunity. Oh, and then I guess I missed a part. My dream job in high school, because I wasn't a good student at the time. I just didn't value high school.
Yeah.
I actually
Me either. I didn't either.
Yeah.
I got my GED.
Okay.
And then I learned everything that I apply now, basically, because they weren't teaching me anything that like really had any value, and also the teachers didn't have my back. Like they didn't really care. To see me succeed. Similar experience on your end?
Yeah, I think a big thing for me is just what you don't know until you're a little older is how you learn. And I wasn't learning the way that the system was being taught. And so once I actually figured out how to learn, I enjoyed getting an education. But that didn't happen until college. So I enlisted out of high school. My dream job was to be a Navy SEAL, and I enlisted in the Navy, and I got in. But actually, it was kind of a funny thing. I failed the physical. It was kind of a funny thing because I went to the military building, and I was one of the best shaped guys there, and I did all the pull-ups and push-ups and everything. Then you get to a line of doctors, and you're all these 7,500, 18-year-olds, 17, 18-year-olds in boxers, and at the end of the line, they were like, "No, you failed." I'm like, "What?" And it turned out I had these autoimmune disease issues that I didn't know I had, and so that was a little bit of a setback because I was like, I didn't have a plan B. So I actually, after high school, took a year off and drank a lot of beer, played a lot of hockey, and just, I hung around some people that weren't in college, the wrong crowd for a while.
I mean, those are fun people to hang around with, though. I mean, when the time is right.
Yeah, when you're 18, it's
the moments, memories, experiences.
Yeah. And so so my brother was going to Minnesota State, and I was managing an ice rink, drinking beer, getting paid to drink beer and play hockey. And I thought I was in a dream job, making $6 an hour, right? And he showed up one day, and he's like, he brought me an application he's like, "You should think about going to college." I'm like, "What? I got it made. I'm managing an ice rink, making $6 an hour, drinking beer and having fun." I filled out the application, got in, and then when I got there, I met John, who was my advisor, and he basically convinced me to go into computer science, and he took me under his wing. I took his management information systems class, and it was pretty funny. I went into his office hours before even meeting, and it was my freshman year, and he brought me in, and we actually spent 3 hours together the first time we ever talked, and just sat there and talked.
Okay, so you clicked then.
Yeah.
I mean, look, sometimes you meet people and you just know that I don't like this person. Like, they don't like me, and I can't wait to leave this room because we're never going to click. But then you meet people like this guy over here and myself, and you just know that you got a buddy for life. So are you still in communication with this person?
Oh, he's on our team.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. No, he was the guy who built the prototype in Minnesota with me. We've been lifelong friends. We talk every week. He's in Minnesota. He's semi-retired, but he's still on our team as an advisor. And yeah, I wouldn't be here without him. Like, it was his startup that I went and worked for. So he basically taught me programming, gave me an office on campus in the computer science building.
Okay.
And it just completely changed my trajectory. Like without him, I would have never gone down the computer science route. I would have never gotten to Silicon Valley. And so like just I owe it all to him and just giving me that opportunity.
That's a big transition from drinking beer at an ice rink going into
know,
computer
right?
science.
Here's the funny part about that. That was at age 18, 19.
Uh-huh.
Fast forward 10 years, and I'm at Accenture managing teams all over the world, and I'm up at Microsoft. Microsoft's my client, and I'm managing about $100 million engineering project up there. And Microsoft is trying to get me to convert from Accenture. They're trying to hire me away to be a full-time. And I remember when they were doing that, thinking about, at the time, I'm like, wow, 10 years ago, I was hanging around guys who were dealing drugs, drinking beer, just, had no plan and no direction. And now the number one software company in the world is like trying to get me.
Yeah, they're trying to poach you.
They were really aggressively trying to get me to move up to Seattle full time because I was living in Silicon Valley and just flying up there all the time, and trying to get me to there. And I just I took a day and I just like thought about that. I'm like, wow, it's really cool, and it just kind of shows that anybody, you can make that positive change. And it can just really skyrocket from there.
Sure. And sometimes it does kind of piggyback off of, it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
And getting those opportunities and being able to take, not advantage of them, but maybe explore them a little bit, because you didn't have to go down that road, but you said, hey, man, this is a good opportunity.
Yeah.
And look what came about it. That's terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, look, and I'm going to piggyback off that since we're talking about piggybacking.
What are you playing, LeapFrog here?
Ribbit. And it's so true because I'm not a religious person by any means, but I do believe in fate, and I believe in energies and intuition. So if you can listen to your intuition, I'm going to go ahead and say the 5-second rule here, because this rule changed my life. I'll call it the 3 to 5 second rule because everyone thinks about food hitting the floor, but our intuition is going to tell us things all the time, and if we listen to it and we follow it, then we're going to be better off. So how it works is the intuition tells us something to do, and it's the right and correct thing to do. However, it's not always the easiest thing to do, right? We know we need to do this, but it's not going to be an easy thing to accomplish. And so you have 3 seconds to act on this thought that our subconscious told us before our conscious mind tries to talk us out of it. The conscious is where complacency derives from. It wants an easy cush life. Like, I deserve to have an easy night. No, you don't. You need to follow your intuition and do the hard thing because you don't know what's going to come from it. And so it's just interesting hearing this story because so many people might have been in your same shoes and be like, I don't need to take those opportunities, or I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at right now, and they just stayed there. And maybe you still are following some of those people on socials, and maybe they're still there, and hopefully they're having a great life. But really, the point of what I'm talking about is that life will present us all opportunities every single day, and if you're not privy to it. What is it? Pervy to it?
I don't think it's pervy.
No, it's not pervy. It's privy.
Yeah.
It's not pervy to it.
John X wouldn't be impressed.
Well, I'm pervy to new opportunities because I'm trying to get that.
Yeah.
No, but it's so interesting because in life you never know what's going to happen, and you never know what kind of opportunities are going to be created by doing something that is outside of your comfort zone. And it sounds like that's kind of what you did. You've listened to a buddy and decided to go on the road less traveled.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot of outside of the comfort zone, and I think that's just kind of every entrepreneur goes through that, right? You don't succeed unless you're willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a road where you asked a question earlier about the bumps and the setbacks and stuff. It's like, after I left Accenture, I fell into, when the real estate market crashed in 2008, I didn't have a plan, and so I started building real estate investment software, and because I was flipping houses and it's just trying to figure out what the next step is and what the next entrepreneurial move was. And then when the market crashed, a high net worth guy asked me to start a private equity company, and he funded it, and I ran it for 4 years, and we were buying distressed bank assets. So it was a complete shift, and I learned a lot, but it was hard. Like, it's just I had a team, and I didn't fully understand the market, didn't understand my role and what I was doing, and it was a detour from what I thought I was here for, right? And then that dried up, and then I got in 2012 I got really sick with Lyme disease, and that kicked my butt. And when the Navy kicked me out for the autoimmune issues, what I didn't know at the time is it was Lyme. And I, growing up on a farm,
did they not know that?
They
couldn't tell you?
They don't test. It's really hard to test for.
Okay.
After you've had it. So what happened is when I was 12 years old, I got really sick and I was in the hospital, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. At the time, they didn't have tests for Lyme. And so they
Is that from getting bit by a tick?
It's a deer tick.
Deer tick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My aunt had it, yeah.
Yeah, so growing up on a farm in Minnesota, I was pulling deer ticks off my dogs and all the time, right? And we just didn't know about it then. And we didn't, and so I got really sick, and they sent me to the University of Minnesota hospital, and it just basically said you have a severe infection, and they throw a ton of antibiotics, and eventually the infection goes down, and then they send you home. Nobody ever diagnosed what the infection was. And then the symptoms and the issues with the military, they basically said, yeah, these markers, they're looking at various things, like I had psoriasis and other things, and they're like, yeah, even though I did the most push-ups and pull-ups and running and everything, I thought I was physically great. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, no, you got some autoimmune issues, you can't get in. And I was like, wow, I didn't think about it internally and like that. And so what happened is, having 4 little kids, I was running 2 different companies, a real estate private equity company, a software company. I was basically getting no sleep, and my immune system just completely crashed. And when it crashed, that's when the infection just skyrockets. And they say that Lyme, it doubles daily. So we all have. So
you doing better now, though?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
That's good.
Once I had to go through an education process. I think we all have these infections in us. We all have these bugs in us. It's just a matter of how healthy is your immune system, how healthy is your body to keep them at bay, right?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I do need to highlight here, because I'm not part of this group of individuals that I respect highly, okay? This is a group of individuals that I have the utmost respect for, and that is anyone who has volunteered their body and life to serving this country. And the fact that you went to try out for that, like I never did that, right? Like I never did that. I've had friends that did that. I've had friends that were lost out there doing that. So that alone speaks to your character, right? Like you knew that you were meant for something bigger. And the fact that you even went out there to go do that, and in this modern environment that we're living in, look, I got drove home. I'm just gonna bring this kind of more personal right now. So my Uber driver that drove me home on last Friday night, he was a young cat. He was like 19, and this dude was working super fucking late. I was getting a ride home at like 4:30 a.m. And he was going to go into the Marines. Like, he wanted to go do that. And anybody who wants to go out there and fight and serve this country, salute. Like, I salute you, and I salute what you're trying to do with that, because here at Discussion Combustion, we support the troops, and that's a selfless act. And I feel like there's a lot of weak people out there, and anyone who's sacrificing themselves and their life in that manner are bigger than most people. So you're part of that group. Sure, because of what's going on, they didn't accept you, but you still got that drive and purpose. So I honor that, and I honor all the troops. I just had to take a quick moment to say that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's important.
It's really important. Mm-hmm. It's great to see we have a culture of so many people that put the we before the me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a selfless sacrifice. You know, to be able to want to do it, just to hey, this is something I want to go do. I thought about the Air Force a little bit, but it wasn't in the playing cards for me. So, you know, like you were saying, Art, we definitely respect our military here, and we thank everybody for their service. And you know, it's quite a story, man. It's quite a story.
It's kind of funny though, like now with all the all the information on YouTube and everything, like what Navy SEALs. I didn't know any of that. I learned about Navy SEALs because my grandpa was in the Navy, and I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And I'm a good athlete, and I'm tough, and I'm going to be a Navy SEAL. I'll be honest with you, like, I would have been one of the ones ringing the bell. There's no way. Like, once you learn,
Who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
But like at 22, 23, because they said I had to be in the regular Navy for 3 years before I could even try to get into the SEALs at that point. So I would have been like 21 the first time I could try. And now I learn about, what they do and how the training, and that 75+% of the people ring the bell and quit and don't get through buds. I'm like, at 21, I don't think I would have been ready to pass, but you never know.
You never know. I mean, you seem like a full send committed guy.
Yeah.
We give it our 100, right?
Yeah. It's now I like to be tortured a little more. Now it's just part of the journey of life.
Yeah, I mean, look, pain is life.
Pain and gain.
So a little just piece on me, and I'll appreciate any accolades because it meant a lot to me. But I just passed 24 months sober off opiates, which took a long time. But what that taught me is that instead of numbing the pain and trying to mask it, you actually need to face it head on.
Yeah.
And it was a 5-year process to even get off the shit once I realized that I had a problem. But then feeling pain, like even like doing dental stuff and like feeling them drill in and stuff, like it's just like that's how you know you're alive. Yeah. Like, let's remain vulnerable and susceptible to feeling the full extent of pain that life has to offer. Like, I don't ever believe it's ever going to be easy. These last couple weeks, and this week especially, has been one of the most challenging weeks that I've ever experienced. And I'm up before the sun. I'm going to sleep after the sun sets, and it sucks. But through the suck, you actually define your own character. And you almost have to embrace this mentality of, I can't wait to overcome my next challenge, right? Like, what's my next challenge going to be? And be prepared and embrace that, because it's never going to be easy. And if your life is easy, then I believe it's unfulfilling.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, look, it could either suck because you're doing nothing and you're bored and you're unproductive, and that sucks, right?
Yeah.
Like, you feel meaningless. Or it could suck because you're working your ass off and you're getting your ass whipped every single day, and you're making something of your life.
Yeah.
Like, either way, it fucking blows. So it's like, which way do you want to go, right? So I don't know. I could go on a raw rant on all that stuff right now.
Yeah, we got to embrace the suck. We've been in it. It's been a tough 2 weeks here for sure. We've been going through a lot, but that's what it takes, right? Yeah. Right when it gets the hardest is like where most people would quit is where you got to keep going to be a successful entrepreneur. I know you've touched on that a bit. And coming out of COVID, I mean, that was a tough time for a lot of people.
Right.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people lost their jobs, their businesses. And I think that's what's just so great about what you guys are doing is supporting those small businesses, because without those guys, what do we have?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the suck thing, that was a big thing for me, is after what I found myself when I went through Lyme, I had a little bit of a victim mentality.
Okay.
And felt sorry for myself, and that was the part where I was like, okay, you either embrace the challenge or you feel sorry for yourself, right? And I remember going to a support group, and it's all these people, and it was just a lot of victims. And I just couldn't be there because I'm like, I want to look at this and reframe this a little bit differently. I want to conquer this and not feel sorry for myself for it. And that was the moment where that was the life-changing moment where it was like, okay, embrace it and just say, yep, I'm going to get through it. This is just part of the journey. And now I love doing things that suck. The thing that I do that most that sucks is ice baths and jumping in. I just went and jumped in Boulder Creek. Okay. And it's horrible. I'm not gonna lie.
But the health benefits.
The polar plunge.
The polar plunge. I enjoy it, and it's refreshing, and it completely resets you.
So how long are you plunging for?
Not very long.
Like 90 seconds, or like what is it?
No, okay. So it's interesting because for some reason when I do the creek, I'm usually with other people, and we're just getting in, and we're in there for a minute.
So you're all feeding off each other, though. Like, have you ever done it just solo by yourself?
Yeah.
Is that tougher than opposed to being with people?
No, I find I can do better in an ice bath by myself because I get into a much deeper meditative state.
Interesting.
That's what you need. Like when it's just a tub full of ice, to be able to get through that, you just need to go into a really deep meditative space, right? And out of your head into your body. And it's harder to do when I'm at the creek because I'm usually with other people doing it, and it's more of a just jump in, and then if I want to, I'll jump in again a couple times. But it's awesome. It works. Like I think the thing that it works is because I don't want to do it, and if it's kind of that David Goggins mentality. It's like do things you don't want to do.
I love Goggins. Stay hard, baby.
Yeah.
Stay hard.
And it's like that's what Navy SEAL training. What you learn is that you can push your mind far more than you even think you're capable of.
So can I just say my favorite Goggins quote right now is when he's talking about like you want to show up and all right, just start like you need to run 20 miles or some shit like he's saying. I'll relate it to push-ups. You need to do 20 push-ups. And you don't want to do the 20 push-ups. So you're like, all right, I'll just go in there and do 10.
Yeah.
And I think the quote goes something like, watch motivation push mediocrity to the side, or he says something like that. Because once you start going after those first 10 push-ups, then all of a sudden your motivation is going to push mediocrity to the side, and you're like, nah, like I just did those 10 and I got 10 more. Right. But you have to embrace like this, like, fuck it, I got it mentality. Life is brutal.
Yeah.
It's just brutal, and not alone like being an entrepreneur and trying to build stuff from the ground up. Like, I mean, Kev, you and I could have quit so many times already.
It's true. Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, keep it moving, right? But yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think every successful entrepreneur I've ever not only sat across this table from, but just in life has always talked about that point in time where it's like, is this worth it? Yeah. Should we keep going all the way kind of thing? I think everybody's thought about that at some point, right? Whether it's a financial risk, whether it's putting a burden on the family, whether it's a health risk, whatever it is, everyone's dealing with something.
Yeah.
And to what you're talking about, though, because the whole 3-second thing I was talking about, like, that tells me to walk up the stairs a bunch of times. Or it tells me to go for a swim when it's fucking 32 degrees out.
Right.
Or, like, I have to go for that 5-mile walk when it was negative, like, when it was 10 degrees out. And I didn't want to do that. But then once you actually go out there and do it, the sense of accomplishment that you feel once you've completed that task after you were telling yourself, this sucks, I don't want to fucking do it, but then you did it, that's living, right? Like, what makes you feel more alive than that? And like, time is so precious, it's flying by. And I mean, look, we're already in this for a minute already tonight.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, if you're not consciously being aware of the now, because that's something else that helped me stay sober, is like appreciating what's happening currently. Like, I'm not stuck in my past. Sure, I can reflect on it, learn from it, but I'm not stuck there.
Right.
Like, I'm building towards something, I'm working toward the future, but like, I don't live in the future. It's all about right now, talking to you right now. Like, the conversations and the stories that you shared on this episode tonight, and I'm so thankful to like be across the table and have one of my very best friends sitting to my right. It's about the present, and the present cannot be full of mediocrity. So, I mean, it's a tall task.
Yeah.
It's a big glass, but are you thirsty or not? Like, that's how I feel, and that's what life is. It's like living in the now, challenging yourself, and within that, like, you will feel more fulfilled than you could have ever imagined. Attacking it.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah, we have a plan to change the world. Like, transforming local, it is the holy grail that Silicon Valley hasn't solved yet. And it's the biggest thing in society we haven't done that has the biggest transformation in society. And so working on that it's hard. We call it Everest. And we're a little bit like Edmund Hillary, which is, the first guy who got up Everest. Well, when you're the first person to get up Everest, there is no map. There is no trail. You just have a compass and a belief in what you're doing. And it's just one step in front of the other. You're not focused on anything other than just one step in front of the other, and a belief that this is my path, and I'm going to, no matter what hits me on the mountain, I'm just going to keep going.
Love it.
That's intense.
That is. That kind of makes you think a little bit, and I like that. And I think you might have already answered this, but it's a good segue into a question that we always ask every guest, and this is going to be the final time we ask this question in this studio on Discussion Combustion, so this is going to be a good one for Josh Ritzer. If you could offer humanity one piece of advice that would better everybody tomorrow, what would that be?
I think the advice is probably related to a lot of things going on in America. The advice is basically coffins and urns don't have wallets. So what do you want to do to make leave your stamp on the world and make it a better place? I think we're seeing too many people at the top of society too focused on the wrong metrics, and it's creating a lot of division. And I think what we need to do is we need more leaders to focus on the we metrics and not the me metrics.
Well said.
I mean, how do we eliminate greed?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I
don't think you can.
I mean,
there's always going to be a sense of it, right?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So
I think everything is about elasticity. Greed's a strong word.
Okay.
You can use the word prosperity. You can there's a fine line of, when you measure things. It's more about paying attention to how we're doing things as a society, and is it working for everybody, right? And we're doing a lot of things. Globalization and technology have profound impacts on how we do things. And we're not at the leadership level, at the national level, and we're not talking about those impacts. We're not addressing those impacts. And we're leaving a lot of people in our society behind. And that fear goes up, anger follows fear, and division follows anger. And so it's
some real shit right there.
When you have to start having hard conversations. How do we lift more people up in our society with globalization and technology?
And that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Change is nigh.
Yeah, change is nigh. What that means is really exactly that, is we're putting Main Street before Wall Street. Right? That's what change is nigh is we're going to be the first system in society that actually pushes maximum value down to the local level, right? We've done a lot of great innovation in the last 30 years, but it's really a lot of the innovation we've done has been what I call 1%er innovation. It's lifted up and made a lot of money for a small fraction of the society. We need to be more intentional about how we build systems to make sure that we're bringing everybody up and not just a few.
I completely stand behind everything that you're saying. Your mission, your goal, your purpose behind what you're doing and looking to accomplish. And I know I'm speaking for both of us, Kev, but you're in our wheelhouse, man. Like, we will absolutely support you. Whatever you want to accomplish, reach out to us. We'll use our platform to help your platform, because I can tell that it's for the people and it's important. So where can everybody find what you do? Where can everybody find everything?
Yeah, it starts at, Nigh.com. Nigh.com is our website. Nigh means near. And so we're all about building technology that helps local businesses and pushes more economic value down to the local level. Our app is Nigh. It's in the App Store, but right now we're only in a pilot in Boulder, and we're growing from there.
Would it still help if people downloaded the app?
Technically, if you... Here's the funny thing, is it hurts our metrics if we have a lot of people download and not engage, right? Okay. Because then when I go to talk to...
So if you're in the Boulder area, please download
anybody
it.
Can download it and check it out.
Yeah.
The way, because we're a hyper-local app and we're only in Boulder, we have a geofence, so nobody outside of a 50-mile radius of Boulder, it actually, you get a message that says you're currently out of range. So if you go to California and open our app, it just says, check back when you're in Boulder. Yeah. And it's a little funny video. So we will be everywhere. In the next, I expect to be global.
Within a year and a half, 2 years. Max.
Top metro areas within that time frame. Right now, it's a because of the way we're doing it, we're actually we're going to stay small for a little bit longer and build out the platform. So then
and you express some of that. So let's not give away any of those secrets.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big platform. I expect it to be global within a certain amount of years because it works. It's hyper local and it works. And what we want to do is build technology that no matter what city you go to, your feed is customized based on your preferences, what you like, and where you're at, and what your availability is.
Wow.
The roadmap is there. It's been laid out.
Yeah.
I like it. That's like you said. You're in our wheelhouse now. This is time stamped. So when we have you back on in a year, 2 years, whenever it is, we'll always reflect back to this visit that we had, and I would encourage our Boulder listeners to get involved.
Yeah.
And our viewers to get involved.
We do have a wait list on our website, so anybody outside of Boulder can join our website because we've gotten already a lot of businesses and people in the Denver metro coming and signing up, and so that's just going to help us because when we do roll out, those are the first people we contact. And, so we've had a lot of restaurants in the Denver metro that have reached out and said, we've heard what you're doing and we would love to be on your pilot when you come to Denver.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, it's been really cool. I think what's awesome about it is just the amount of community support we've received so early. It's really been cool. Like it's not only all the users, but the businesses have been amazing. And it's not working fully for them yet either, but they believe in the mission and they believe in what we're doing, and they've been very supportive. So it's cool.
That's terrific. So yeah, join the waiting list if you're in the metro area. That's basically what we're getting at because good things are coming. Sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to sign up for this thing, and we'll obviously include everything down in the show notes down below, so you can get in touch with Nigh, get in touch with Josh, and man, yeah, thanks for making the journey down here. Thanks for bringing us some beverages. Quick plug for these guys. What do we got here?
So this is Curation Beverage. They're a small startup in Boulder. I don't have, I actually just happened, they gave me a bunch of drinks and I brought them here.
I'm trying the bourbon right now and it is delicious.
I think you and I are drinking the same thing, maybe.
Yeah, this is a grapefruit vodka drink.
It's pretty good.
It's very good, yeah. And so it's just two guys. We met entrepreneurs that started Curation last summer in Boulder. And they're just starting out on their journey, and I really appreciated them. They've sponsored several drops at restaurants we've done, and so they just dropped off a bunch, and I brought it here with to celebrate with you guys.
Yeah, I think you're one of the first guests as we approach episode 200 that's ever pulled in, and you guys can't see it, but
full cooler.
But off camera here, we got a full cooler. I was like, what is this guy bringing in here? He brought us some cold beverages.
I'm going to show the cooler.
Yeah, bring the cooler out.
Yeah, I'm just going to show it.
This is it, guys. This is the last time you see this studio. Obviously, you can come visit us this Saturday live, but look at this thing, guys. This thing is pretty serious.
He has all the stickers of Nigh on top, and actually, here, just tell them what they give us the pleasure, because I'm not mic'd up.
You got the DCPC sticker on there.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. So, man, what a great episode to close out our time in this studio. Man, I believe in what you're doing and wish you continued success. Like Art said, you're going to be in our wheelhouse. You'll be back on this program in the new studio, just up the road when the time is right. And maybe we'll come up to Boulder for a visit, hang out, grab a drink.
I think you guys have to. You got to experience a local drop.
Yeah.
Right? You got to actually get the full experience of what we're doing. It's really cool. We're really changing the way we do local. It's all about a new way to experience and support local. It's very community centric. We're actually there's a lot of social features into our app, so it's really kind of cool to see it working and see everybody coming together, especially after COVID, where community, especially local community, was hard to come by, and so we're trying to bring that back.
I love it, man. I love what you're doing.
Yeah, completely support it. Support what you do. Kev, I support what you do too.
I would hope so. We've been doing this 4 years.
I mean, what a pleasure to have you in tonight, and thank you so much for opening up and sharing some of your personal stories with us. That means a lot to the listeners. It's relatable, and all we can do is the right thing for the right reason, even if it's the hard thing to do. And on that note, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please be good to yourselves.
You deserve it. We'll see you Saturday, guys. Live action episode 200.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.